Welcome back. Season 2, Episode 1, Part 2, still with Mr. Jordan. We're going to be kicking it off where we left off.
Yeah. So what we were talking about was COVID stimulus, Fed balance sheet blows up, right? You're like, oh, obviously they just gobbled this up because they didn't want interest rates to rise and all of this and that. But what people don't understand is the bank's ability to lend is basically never ending. I mean, there's capital requirements, but they're really relaxed. We could do a whole episode on Basel III and Basel IV and international banking agreements and things like that. And the United States drags their feet like bad, like lead weights on their feet. Like, you want what? We're not going to bankrupt our country, morons. But we still haven't agreed to Basel III, and they started that after the 2008 crisis. Switzerland and a bunch of other places get together and say, we need these capital requirements, and these are tier 1 assets, and these are tier 2 assets, and I could talk for hours on that. But the bottom line is they've been working on it for 16 years, and it's not done.
We have a printing press.
We have a printing press, yeah. Well, the banks are going under. What are we going to do?
Print.
Done. Next. What are we going to do next? But, and kind of the whole world has that. We have it like firsthand, but it's like, if me and you are friends and you have the printing press, how much danger am I ever in? I mean, hey, I'm having trouble over here. Done. And we talk about this like, hey, if Bitcoin goes to the moon, I don't even need Bitcoin. You guys have Bitcoin. If gold goes to the moon, you don't need gold. I got gold. We'll take care of each other. And that's how kind of alliances work and just in general. But what I've come to understand recently, specifically about the COVID stimulus, was because the banks can essentially lend infinitely. The only thing that they're worried about is the spread. So they have money in your checking account, or they can borrow it from the Fed for 0, right? And they can get it. They can buy treasuries for 2.25. They don't like if I'm offering you something and I'm giving you $2.25 for everyone you buy. How many are you going to buy?
All of them.
All of them.
Every one of them.
So that's the problem. So that's why the Fed balance sheet explodes. It's not because people don't want the treasuries. It's exactly the opposite of that. They want every treasury. When stuff's hitting the fan, they don't want risk. They want no risk.
Guaranteed rate of return.
They are like, I'm just going to sit here and pocket the spread all day. I'm paying Nick 25 cents and I'm taking $2.25 from you, and I'm just like boom, 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 and my pockets are swelling fast. They don't care what the rates are. They only care about the spread. So they just buy it to infinity. The reason that the Fed inflated their balance sheet was to make the banks take risk. Force the banks to give a business loan to you when times are tough, because that's the only way to get out
everything
of the problem. Like, if you can't go start a business, or you can't borrow to expand and hire new people to do X, Y, or Z, it's going to keep getting worse. The only way to make it better is force lending into the economy, and the banks create the money. So if they're just going to create money and buy the government's debt, that doesn't help anything. So they basically remove all of the risk-free assets, and then as things started to recover from the pandemic, they started selling some of them out into the market because they know they'll all get annihilated. They're just going to get bought up immediately. And I always thought it was the opposite of that until a year ago. I was like, this is kind of what got me onto, we have our best and brightest there. They can't be possibly as stupid and as irresponsible as I think they are. There's things that they know that I need to figure out of why things work the way they do, why we run deficits, why we have a trade deficit. It's all required. When's the last time we had a budget surplus? Clinton?
Yeah.
Do you know why that ended to really quickly? Yeah. They started to break. They're like, yeah, the system's starting to break. We gotta go the other way, guys.
Turn around.
Turn around. This isn't working.
Yeah.
Saudi Arabia's having trouble. Iran's having trouble. Everybody's having trouble.
Yeah.
We gotta flood the market with money. And it works every time. It works like a charm.
It works for most people, unless you don't add value.
Yeah. Yeah. So it goes back to, inflation is good for some people and bad for others. And it is definitely good for some people, namely the government.
Yeah.
It's always good for the government. They get to tax you without telling you they're taxing you.
That's very true.
And then they tell you, oh, it's the big companies that are robbing you. No.
As I've grown and matured, like, one big unlock for me too is I always thought, like, you put your money to work to like make you money and stuff. And you think about all the different investment vehicles and like risks you have to assume, you really don't make a lot of money. Like, you the problem is you're losing so much buying power. Ultimately, you're just trying to hedge inflation. it's like there's not many things that just beat inflation.
You got to start a
I
company.
shouldn't say inflation, like currency debasement.
Yeah. You basically have to either own a company
Yes.
or start a company or own shares of a company that can beat inflation. Like
Yes.
if you own ExxonMobil, I mean, sure, can the demand for oil go down? Yeah. Are you ever going to sell a gallon of oil that you don't make money on? No, ever. There's always going to be a buyer at
You
the
need
price.
your own printing press.
Same thing with natural gas. The pipe coming in your house. Do you even care how much it is? If they triple it, are you going to do something different? No. So when there's bad inflation, those are the kind of stocks you typically want to buy. This is not investment advice. But you know, when things get a little rocky, you go to things that, hey, if I think there's going to be high inflation for a period of time here, I need to buy things that can control the price. Not, you know, consumer goods out of China where if they go up a quarter, demand just falls out the window.
Yep.
So, you know, obviously gold works really well, Bitcoin. But yeah, I feel like we kind of circled a couple topics there. We kind of went from technology right to the dollar, touched the big beautiful bill for a second. We didn't really talk about why we invest in the things that we invest in, but I guess we're kind of getting there as far as like, you know, how do you
I feel like I've known it without knowing it for a long time, that just going to work and trading your time for money is just not where you want to be.
No, and that kind of goes back, I think, to technology. I think is like the biggest driver there. It's like eventually a robot's going to be able to do all of our jobs. So
You need your own printing press.
How do we get into a position where without our job, we can live, right? And maybe that's universal basic income, right? And they just tax the people who own everything and it just turns into socialism. But we're trying to avoid that, obviously, right? I mean, as hard as
I don't
it
think
is,
that's
this is a
sustainable.
pretty good country to start a company in. I mean, it's
Oh, for
got to
sure.
be like top couple.
Well, it has
I
to be
mean,
the best, I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, number one for entrepreneurship has to be. I mean, I
Absolutely.
haven't looked up any statistics, but I mean, based on my experience, you go to the bank and you give them an idea, and they're like, "Sounds great." If you got a good business plan laid out, and like you got some of your own money to get started, they're like, "Hell yeah!"
Especially
Let's
when
do
they can
it.
collateralize stuff. Like if you're going to go
Yeah.
buy a bunch of equipment, trucks,
Yeah.
you know, something that they can
You got to have an
use as
idea.
collateral.
You
Like,
got to have an idea.
it's even safer.
Yeah, yeah. It's like otherwise, what's your plan? You're just gonna kind of wait to get replaced, and then just
think-
kind of be sitting there.
I think about that all the time too. Like banks drive me nuts for multiple reasons, but like when they loan out mortgages against houses, like you have, well, not have to, but oftentimes are strongly required to put down like 20%. So if you're to like default immediately, like they're not out anything, they can just wholesale it. If you don't do that, like you have to pay for their, well, I'll say their PMI if you
Yep.
don't have 20% down.
Yeah.
And then you pay up all the interest up front, and then ultimately they just take all the mortgages, bundle them up, and sell them to somebody else anyway.
For sure.
Like they don't have any risk. They just print money. They
Until
basically
08.
yeah, yes.
And then
I mean,
so-
there are caveats to that, but I mean, like,
The only thing that limits them there is like they don't want to be the one that has to get bailed out.
Yes.
Because they all then have a terrible reputation. So it's like, yeah, you take risk and risk and risk. And that's the trouble when interest rates are low. When interest rates are like 2%,
They need to balance.
the banks are just begging for a return. They got to lever everything up 15 times to try to get any kind of ample return, because all the people with retirements at their banks are like, I want 5-6%. And they're like, the risk-free rate's only 0.25.
yeah,
What do you want to do here? You know, so it's like, okay, let's lever up the risk. They lever up the risk for 7 years. People start buying houses and they don't have any income. Ninja loans, no income, no job. You know, whatever. It's a free for all. And then, you know, it breaks. And they're like, okay, let's not do that again.
yeah.
But then
We're not gonna do that for another 7
We
years.
do that again. We do that again. But yeah, there's a plus and a minus to everything. But our banking here is top notch. I mean, anywhere in the world, this is a place to be. If you're a bank, if you're a customer of a bank, we have the printing press, the Powell put, we got everything.
Yep.
So, but yeah, every year it gets harder to beat inflation. You can't just
currency
park,
debasement.
You can't just park money somewhere and just say, "Oh, good enough. I'm going to live on that."
I think that's the biggest value prop with Bitcoin. That's fixed supply.
Yeah. And I mean, the low interest rates stink for a lot of reasons, right? I mean, typically every time we have low interest rates, a lot of inflation comes after that. But when there's low interest rates, it's a great time to start a business.
Yeah,
You know, it's a great time to buy investment real estate. It's a great time to do a lot of things before the prices go up. And all
Especially-
you got to do is look at history and say, oh, when this happens, this typically follows.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, they just reduced interest rates. House prices are going to the moon.
every time.
The next thing, right? So it's like, okay, they just drop rates. Now the Fed reducing the overnight rate doesn't change long-term rates, obviously. So it's like they hope that when they drop the Fed funds overnight rate, that mortgage rates are going to follow, but I mean, they just dropped to 25 points and did not change 15 and 30 year. Pretty much all that stuff is priced on the 10-year treasury, which there's infinite demand for. So it's quite a system. There's so many ins and outs, but history is your guide to a lot of this stuff. You can look at,
History doesn't repeat,
what
but it
happens
sure
every
rhymes.
time. It rhymes. It rhymes every time. Yeah. And I think that pretty much gets you to your next point, which is buy gold. No matter what the price is, it's going north. But yeah,
well, 1 ounce of gold, still 1 ounce of gold.
yeah, it over enormous periods of time, it's just worked insanely well. And when you put it in the context of since 2000, the stock market's down priced in gold. Keep in mind, gold was zero risk, essentially, right? There's no counterparty risk. The only risk is that you lose it,
but yeah.
that you lose it, or they come
Call
and
it
say
in.
they're going to take it away, which happened once.
Yeah.
But
We're not going to bring that up.
Yeah, we're going to gloss over that.
we're going to gloss over the fact that, but I mean, they didn't come to your door, like on your head and say,
No.
you got to give it back. But I mean, it was encouraged.
Pretty close.
It was like be a good patriot.
Yeah.
Bring your gold in. We need it. And then it wasn't long after that.
Yeah,
That didn't
we don't actually need it anymore.
Right. Yeah.
You can
So-
buy it back now for more.
But I mean, it really couldn't be any more proven over huge periods of time. And it's like you've said with Bitcoin, right? At this point, you're probably not going to get rich off it, but it'll probably keep you from getting poor. If you'd have got in 15 years ago, you
probably get rich.
2010, yeah, you got rich. And there's
there to keep
no
you from getting
escaping,
poorer.
no escaping that. And it makes sense that a lot of the people that are whales are cashing out at this price. It's like, what do they need with more than $100 million or whatever?
Or more.
Even with a lot of inflation, they can make it a while, you know? And it's like, at that point, make it real. That's one of the things, you know, the people I listen to, a lot of them are kind of like more leaning towards retirees or like nearing retirement, like 40s, 50s, 60s. And they're saying, you know, like cash it out, right? If you had a gold investment and it's now doubled, or you had gold miners and they've doubled, tripled, quadrupled recently, cash it out, make it real. Remodel your kitchen, buy a car, do something. Like, what's the point of having $100 million of Bitcoin and then just sitting in these
over.
chairs and doing nothing?
Right.
Right. Like, it doesn't actually do anything. It holds value theoretically, and who knows how it's going to play out, right? Nobody knows the future. Obviously, it's done tremendously well so far, but it's like, at some point, make it real, make it, you know, impact your life other than just being on a piece of paper, you know? So yeah, that's my thoughts on that. What do you guys have?
I agree. It doesn't pay to tip over dead with a whole bunch of Bitcoin, but a lot of people I listen to, once they have their Bitcoin and they decide they don't want to trade their time for dollars anymore, it's like you can free up your time to do other good things in the community. Yeah. Being on the hamster wheel just doesn't appeal to me. It's like you just continually have to like work and work and work to stack dollars that are just losing value, losing buying power.
It's just like it's like society is begging you to
Work
do a higher purpose.
Work harder.
Yeah,
work
like
harder.
it's like every day is challenging you. Like, yeah, you can probably get by doing what you're doing, but is there more value you can add to society? Can you do something bigger, better? Can you employ somebody? Can you create something? They're just begging you to do that. That's what I feel like the government's been doing for a long time. That's why they blew the Fed balance sheet to smithereens and just said, we're not doing any risk-free anything. If you guys want to make money, you need to go find Vern and, you know,
hire him.
It's like Shark Tank, right? It's like, hey, I got an idea. Let's do it. I mean, this is the place to do that. And that's the opportunity, I think. And then once you can create something, whatever it is, maybe it's a podcast, maybe it's a business doing something you're good at. Maybe it's something you've never done before. If you're going to start a business, I'd definitely recommend knowing something about it before you jump in. It's tremendously difficult no matter what you do. And if you don't know anything about it, it's going to be way harder. But find something you love, do it as well as you possibly can, and the dollars follow. And then once you get the dollars, then you want to turn them into something that holds value for your kids and their kids. You know, all the investments we're talking about, you know, whether you buy stocks or gold or Bitcoin, my opinion, not going to change the game for you. You know, if you have a lot of savings, it's going to be a lot different. If you make 40 grand a month and you're putting $18,000 a month in gold and $12,000 a month into Bitcoin and you're living on 10, yeah, it's probably going to make a bigger difference then.
Absolutely.
But if you make $5,000 a month and you're putting 300, 500 away, it's way better than zero. And you're going to have way more than if you didn't do anything and you just spent it all, which is rampant. In this country. Oh my gosh. There's people who have less than zero. They're buying stuff they don't even have the money for, let alone investing some of the money that they do have.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, just think of all the people just by buying some Bitcoin or some gold or some stocks, you're ahead of like 65% of America. And then those people are ahead of the entire rest of the world. So like,
Right.
I've read somewhere that like, if you make 35 grand, you're in the top 1% of the world.
I think it's less than that. I actually think it's a lot less than that.
Yeah, it's different. So that's kind of how I think about it. And obviously I've started a business already, so I have that kind of hindsight. But I remember kind of being in the hamster wheel, like, man, you know,
You can't get
50
off.
grand this year. I'm hoping for 53 next year, hoping for 57 the year after that. And it's just like, you just keep pushing out the projections of where you're going to be at. And the most important thing is happiness. And if you're happy doing that, that's super.
fine.
But some people want more. And, you know, that's probably why you started this podcast, is kind of, I want more out of my life for
That's exactly
15 reasons, because I'm going to enjoy it. Because if I do well, I can enjoy time with my kids. I can spend more time with my wife. I can travel, you know, all the different things that you want to do in your life. Right. So it's like, how do you achieve that?
It's time preference.
And to me, that is like the cart that's behind, like, that's the horse. And the investing is the cart that's behind the horse. It's like, how do we run off and like get the income that we need? And that's different for everybody. And I've heard you say on other podcasts, like retirement. What's your retirement income be?
How do
My
you
dad
project
could
that?
retire on zero. Like, if he had a John boat that was $150 that you had to pull 60 times to start, and he had 10 gallons of gas a year just to get it out to the middle of the lake,
Happier
he'd take an
now.
electric trolling mower with a solar panel. Guaranteed he could live on 10 grand a year.
Yeah.
Versus me, well, I'm a little different than that. You know, I might drive a crappy car. I might have this, that, and the other, but I have some desires.
Yeah.
Right. Which is why you do something different than other people do. So that's kind of how I think about it. It's like, you gotta find something you love that you can make money doing, and apply yourself to that as much as you possibly can within reason, while keeping some sort of balance. I read and kind of watch, like, you know, some YouTube shorts, like TikTok things that are like motivational about, you know, balance isn't a thing at certain points in your life. Balance is like an overarching, like, if I work 100 hours a week for 5 years and then I retire, I didn't have any balance for 5 years, but over the course of my life, I had
That's exactly
better balance than a lot of people, you know? So it's like,
Do you want to work now or later?
especially with inflation high, it's like, you got to get started making a dang lot of money now, considering it's going to keep getting worth less potentially every year. And we haven't really talked about it too much, but I think inflation's going to cool a fair amount, and that might be an unpopular opinion, but
Really?
I think where everything is headed right now, I mean, you're already seeing it in rents. If you look at real-time indicators instead of like lagging indicators, like anything the government publishes on like CPI, PPI, throw that in the garbage can.
I agree.
Look at like private party, what are used cars trading at? What are rents trading at? Like, are they trending down? Or are they trending up? You look at all that stuff, down, down, down. The big ticket items. And there's different ways to think about it. It's like your housing and your car and those kind of things, for most people, are like over half their income. So if those aren't going down, the other stuff has to be going up a lot to be getting a lot of inflation, right? You spend, you know, depending on how much money you make, a couple percent of your pay on food, a couple percent on this, a couple percent on that. I mean, those things can go up 10%, not really totally change the game. So it's like, you're more worried about home prices, rent, you know, gas, some of the really big ticket things that people are, insurance has gone up a lot. But I think it's going to cool. I don't think you can find any period looking back that there was a period of high inflation that unemployment then spiked, which we're seeing. You know, you're starting to see unemployment come up. Jobless claims are up. It's never happened that after that prices just kept going ballistic. You know, it's typically there's a cooling. You know, and maybe it's not 2%, but maybe it's 2.5, maybe it's 1.5. It depends how long they wait.
But to contrary into that, I mean, do you think that the top 1 or 10% are going to make up for that?
In what way?
Because like you see consumer spending, like I agree with you that the reports aren't always accurate, or they might be biased, but you see more and more of the consumer spending is probably heavily weighted toward the top 10 or 1%. It's like,
I think that kind of goes back to Big Beautiful Bill as well. Like, if that works the way that some of the really smart people think it will, and we actually do some reindustrializing, we actually build out a power grid, we actually build out a lot of these things. I mean, think back to like Great Society, that kind of stuff, when we like built all the highways and did all that kind of stuff. Like, we're like, all right, let's go. Let's do this. I mean, that creates a ton of jobs. If we get a lot of the people off the sidelines, work requirements for SNAP benefits, that's one thing.
Yeah.
Get somebody off the couch. that's able-bodied, get them out doing anything, adds any value to society, creates any service, that brings inflation down.
Yeah.
Inflation is basically how many dollars are being created and how many goods and services are being created. So if we can get a bunch of people in the workforce creating value, paying taxes, that reduces the deficit and it increases GDP. That's what they're looking to do. That's the whole point of, like I said before, we're like in the bottom of the ninth, like, man, we really ran her into the wall this time.
Yeah.
You know, it's like we're going 200 and the wall's in front of us. We're like, okay.
Yeah.
All right, time to industrialize. It's time to do a couple things different. But, yeah, I do think that inflation is going to come down. But that doesn't mean that the dollar and gold and Bitcoin and all those things can't rise together. I think they can all rise together. And that's typically one of the things that tells you that you're really in a bubble. Is
safe haven assets.
Is when the correlation starts going to 1.
Yes.
Everything's going up. It's like, okay, time to get out.
Yep.
But that's not investing advice. Typically, that means something's about to break.
Yep.
And again, we'll probably paper over it again, and it'll be another blip in the radar. And we'll be like, oh yeah, remember house prices went down 50%, and all of our friends that were worried about buying a house got to buy one, and you need the reset.
I just hope building costs come down.
we've been in this like perma bull run forever. Just like we need to shed our skin so bad. And just let
we haven't had a true
break
correction. We just print over everything
every single time. It's like we need to like let my sisters into the game. Like they're graduating and becoming teachers, and they're looking at house prices and they're like, what?
Yeah, like when you see crashes like that and we just bail everybody out, it's like that 50-year-old person that owned a restaurant is like, if they would have failed, like that gives the person that's coming out of culinary school not their shot.
Yeah,
but it's like they don't get a shot anymore.
No,
just bail them out.
Yeah. And it's like a lot of that could be crony capitalism too, where it's like,
it
are we really going to let the airlines go out of business? They're too big to fail. Well, it's like, well, the airplanes don't go away if the company fails.
Right.
The stockholders lose all their money, but the airplanes are still there for me and you to be like, you want to start an airline?
Yeah.
Let's go to the bank up the road.
Hey, 747s are on sale.
No kidding, right? And that's how you get airline tickets down.
Yeah.
You know, but if you bail the airline company out and
nothing changes.
Share the stockholders get bailed out. We talked about this when we were texting. It's like, this is privatizing the gains and socializing the losses.
Yes.
Every time. That we just keep doing it over and over and over again. Well, who's going to win? There's no way to lose. I shouldn't say no way, because they do let some companies fail, but it's like if you're invested in all of the big auto manufacturers, the government is not going to let them all die.
If it would have been more of a free market, like legacy U.S. automakers that have been out of business all along. Well, I mean, we've bailed them out several times.
But that doesn't mean that we don't make cars.
Right.
It would be good.
Right.
If you let them fail. That's the whole point of capitalism. Is, hey, they did something wrong. They had too many pensions. They had not enough efficiency in their workforce. They had Toyota and Honda were annihilating them. Why? We need to figure that out. Okay, the way that you fix it is you let the company go bust. The people who are creditors maybe get paid. The stockholders get paid last. They probably lose everything. Shouldn't have invested in GM. Couldn't you tell it was a bad company?
Right.
You know,
well, that's just it. And it's like not like we're not going to ever build cars again. Like the jobs don't just disappear forever.
The factory doesn't go away. Yeah. The people who work there don't go away. Just the stockholders.
Well,
lose
now it's
their
a
money.
Honda plant.
Yeah. Now it's a Honda plant.
Now it's a Honda plant.
Or GM buys the Ford plant because GM didn't go bankrupt. I'm doing it backwards, right? GM was struggling. Ford was actually doing okay. But, maybe Ford becomes bigger because they did a better job. Or do they know that GM didn't know? We should get rid of GM. They didn't do a good job of making stuff up, obviously. But, when you let that fail, it's like, that's how you can bring the cost of our cars down. So we can actually sell cars to Europe and China if we just keep bailing them out every time. And we're like, better. It's okay. You can keep building a $38,000 car that nobody wants when they're $13,000 in China. And then Biden's like,
BYD's $13,000.
No EVs from China because they're $13,000 and we can't compete with that.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
So it's like, oh,
it's like, wow, this is basically like a Model 3, but it's $13,000.
I didn't say this before when we were talking about inflation, but I think one of the biggest drivers, if not the biggest driver of inflation, is regulations. The more that I've dug into it, I thought at first it was just money printing. It's way more regulations. Like we are uncompetitive in so many things, not because we print money, but because we restrict and restrict and restrict.
Can't buy a Chinese car here.
Yeah, you can't buy. Well, now you can't buy Chinese steel. Can't buy Chinese copper. Can't buy Chinese. All of that stuff. And then we're like, and once you build your building, it has to be to this code, this code, this code. You have to apply for this license, this license, this license. You have to employ this person or you get sued. You have to do this, this, this. You're not just allowed to just run off there and that's one of the, skipping kind of forward. That's why I'm very bullish on America after being bearish for a very long time. We have the brakes on this beast right now. we have such high taxes. We have so many regulations. We can
What
just
if we
start.
uncork this a little bit?
So what I've learned recently is something I call the veil of altruism.
We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
We were talking about the veil of altruism.
Okay.
How we have the brakes massively applied to this vehicle that we're in. The United States, in my opinion. You look at China, they are totally the opposite. They are like all guns blazing. We're headed this way. We're coming after the U.S., in my opinion. They're trying to be the next superpower.
Sure.
And we're just like, we got the trans brake on, and we got the e-brake on, and we got the like
The foot pedal?
We have 58% taxes in California, which is like the super hub of our economy.
Yeah.
And we're just letting that thing fester.
Bro,
Like,
side note on that, like when Luca got traded from Dallas to
Took a pay cut?
LA, the
Yeah.
pay cut was massive. Sure, he's getting paid more, but just due to the
no state income tax in Texas.
right, and
Yeah.
then to 58 or whatever, like
Yeah.
just unreal. Anyway, continue.
Yeah. So it's like we have just like been smashing the brakes to keep us from running away from the rest of the world, in my opinion. I mean, if we started really running into trouble where there was somebody else that was coming after us and we went into like World War II mode, which is like, okay, everybody to work, no more benefits, no more welfare. We're cutting taxes to zero. We're doing
Spread the
all
fear.
of these things and we are headed that way. It would be like,
Shit gets done. It gets done
remove
fast.
regulations one after another after another. You don't have to ask anybody.
Yeah.
Start
Just
a
do it.
company,
Yeah.
do this. You want to, like,
Yeah.
if you did that, if we could get people to agree, and I think we're just like waiting.
I think we're like one
For the
big event.
time.
One big event.
Yeah, we're like waiting for the time where we like. So it's basically like,
And then we have another Bretton Woods.
in my opinion, it's like 1944. We won the war, right? The next year we won the war, but Bretton Woods happens, and we're like, okay, this is what we're going to lay out. We want globalism. We want everybody to do well. We want free trade. All of this, right? And we kind of played that out so far, and we've kind of said, we'll defend everybody. We'll be the world police. We'll be the world reserve currency. We'll do all of these things, and it's for the greater good, right? And it's like, it's good for everybody. China can have jobs. They can, export things to all over the world. It'll be good for all these developing countries to, kind of partake in what we've partaken in for so long. And it was all, for the greater good. And I feel like kind of recently we've had a little bit more turmoil here, and we're like, okay, it's time for like a little pivot here. And we went and we sanctioned Russia. I think that was one of the bigger things, where it was like they had Federal Reserve, treasuries, and we froze them. And we were like, weaponize the dollar, which is more powerful than the military, in my opinion. And it was like, that shocked the world. And it was like, holy crap, that could happen to us. They were like, all of
These
these
aren't worth anything anymore.
What if if we're not friends with them, they can shut us down like today. And so then you have Donald Trump running around the world creating trade deals. And I mean, he's just like a one-man business show running everywhere. Like, let's make a deal. Are you on our team or not? Team America? Yes or no? 5 seconds. and like people are like just saying that he's a clown. And it's like, I don't think so. I think we're going around and figuring out who's on Team America that's going to oppose China. And we're like, okay, China, you've been, devaluing your currency for all these years. We're not going to continue to absorb your overproduction. We're not just going to keep sending you money so that you can do this, and you're not exporting gold, you're not exporting rare earths. You're not doing X, Y, Z, A, B, or C with the rest of the world.
Yep.
You're sitting there in your own playpen doing all your things to become a superpower. And guess what? US doesn't like it. Norway doesn't like it. Sweden doesn't like it. France doesn't like it. India doesn't like it. It's just you and Russia. And we're trying to become friends with Russia. We just had a meeting in Alaska. So it's like we're kind of cornering everybody against them to say, we're not just going to keep sending liquidity over there for them to try and take over the world, because it's not good for anybody.
It's a little concerning that Russia, China, and India just had a summit and got all together, and
Yeah.
we weren't invited to the party.
Yeah. We don't need to be. How many aircraft carriers do they have? Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like we could defend ourselves indefinitely against the rest of the world, non-nuclear. So we got a pretty big stick. So it's like, so we did, going back, it's like we've done all these things for globalism, and it's like we're doing all these things for the greater good. And till it's not in our best interest. And then it's like partially removing the veil of altruism where it's like, actually, this is how it's going to be now. You're not going to do this or this or this or else. And they're like, damn it, they're right. We are going to do exactly as they say, aren't we?
Or they
we're
won't
like,
exist.
Yes.
We'll just rub you off the map.
Yeah.
And you just got twice the size.
It's like Darth Vader in Star Wars.
I am altering the deal. Pray I don't alter it any further.
Where it's like, holy crap, you know, and that's kind of changed my thought process. And I've been a lot happier since I've come up with that kind of, I actually think we're in the driver's seat versus, oh man, inflation's bad. They just can't seem to get under control. It's like, we got to vote new people into the Senate and the House to like fix all this. And I'm like, I don't think so. I really don't think so. We are absolutely, in most cases, sending our best and brightest out there. And they come up with some crazy shit sometimes.
Yeah.
You can edit that out. But I mean, they come up with some crazy stuff. And I think there's some things to try and divide us, which work, you know, surprisingly well sometimes. But I just think if as we remove this veil of altruism where it's not, we're so happy and everything's, you know, podunk or whatever you call it, everything's rosy and shiny, that we're in charge. And going back to the milkshake, it's like we are going to drink every last drop of liquidity from that milkshake before anybody else gets one shot at it, because we have the entire debt system built. We have the military. Everything comes back to we're going to win.
Yeah, as long as we have a little bit of industry.
Yeah, and it's like
So we
just
can make some
enough.
steel.
And it's like right now we've kind of realized, yeah, we probably have some, you know, liabilities here. We should probably shore up a couple of these things, try and get some more foreign investment. Because I think Trump realizes, and I think that's why he won in such a landslide, is they can paper all these numbers and say unemployment's this and inflation's that, and people vote with their wallets. They get to the polls and they're like, it sucks, you know, and they're like, something's wrong. We got to go a different direction here. Like, you know, it's like, it's just not going good right now. And, you know, we got a lot of Republicans in there and we got Trump in there, and they're actually doing some of the shaking that has not been done for a long time, where it's like, yeah, we want free trade, but what if we just cut China's jugular quick and then go back, you know? And maybe that's a 5-year process. Maybe it's 10 years. I don't know, but it's changing, reshuffling the deck against somebody who is now kind of said they don't want to really be our friends. And we're like, oh, you forget that we make the rules, not you.
Right.
And now we're kind of, you know, running to, in the next couple of years here, make sure that any shortfalls that we have are kind of taken care of. We're figuring out who our friends are.
Lots of data centers.
Data centers win the race against AI. I think it's hilarious. You look at like Bill Gates and all these bleeding heart liberals, and they're just like, oh, you know, we can't have nuclear power. We need solar power and wind and all that. And then it's like, okay, we need AI to beat China. Bill Gates, next day, uranium. He's the biggest uranium person in the world. He's like, yep, we're going to do uranium, and we're going to remove all of these restrictions off nuclear, and we're going to not require this permit and this permit and this permit. And actually, we're already working on modular reactors. Thank you. Next. What are we going to do now?
Yep.
All right, now we got the nuclear. We put them next to a river. AI data center right here. We own NVIDIA. Kind of crazy that they took a stake in Intel. I mean, dangerous in my opinion.
Yeah.
But, you know, I'm kind of like the ends justify the means. And I think things were screwed up to the point that we need to do some unconventional things, maybe to say, you know what? One of our biggest assets is Intel, microchips, technology in general. We got to keep that. If that means that we need to take taxpayer money and funnel it into this company so they can get some more R&D, so that we can have 2 competing companies, you know, that are doing this stuff. So, you know, maybe this is
Intel's just not getting it done.
Maybe this is an existential race where if we don't win AI, we
It's like
lose.
nuclear, going to space, like every
Right?
other race
Yeah,
we've
it's
ever
like
had.
there's always a race, and we're gonna win. We might be so far behind China right now, but it's like the tortoise and the hare. It's like we decided just recently that we're like, we got to do AI. Do you see how much money's poured into tech stocks? We opened with that.
That's insane.
Like, oh, you guys need money?
It's like infinite.
How high should we turn the printer so that NVIDIA can
I've
take
noticed
over
in
the
our
world?
industry too. It's just like blank check for data
Yeah.
center stuff. It's like piping. It's like, here's 140,000 hours.
Yep, done.
It's like they're
Done,
gonna get
done, and
funding.
done. Yep. Yeah. It's funny. Some of these countries are doing like sovereign wealth funds, and they're talking about it in America. It's like, we don't need that shit. There's so much money here. But yeah, it just seems like to me, sure, we could lose, but we're so far ahead in so many of the races. We're basically on vacation most of the time. Look how many golf courses we have. like I said about like having the brakes on, we can turn this to like warp drive
Maybe
in
we
no
will with
time, in
AI.
my opinion.
Maybe it won't come down.
Right? Yeah, you never know. But I think no matter what challenges we face, the world will face even harsher than we will. If we're having inflation, they'll have worse inflation. If we're having supply chain troubles, they'll have worse supply chain troubles. And we're just in a better position than they are. And I'd like to hear somebody argue opposing to that.
I think that actually brings up a good time to bring up your graph of the other currencies in the world.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So kind of going back to like people think that other countries are going to eat our lunch because we just keep printing and printing and printing. I had in here, maybe it got out of order. USD right here. US dollars versus gold versus euros versus CHF, which is Swiss francs versus Canadian dollar. Take a look at that. Are we the only ones that printed?
Negative.
No. If we print, everybody else prints. Period. In most cases, they have to print more because we control the world reserve currency. So Nick had already seen that, but I mean, you can
I'll
look
put
at
it
that
up on the screen here for you guys.
Pretty much anywhere you can see that.
It's pretty.
They're all
linear
devaluing their currency as well. It's not like
correlation.
we're just printing and they're like, why are they doing that?
Right.
You know, we're going to let our currencies rise. It's a race to the bottom.
It is.
And we're going to win.
Everyone thinks you want a really strong dollar. It's like
No.
Wrong.
You want a strong dollar inside the country, but
Yes.
compared to other currencies, you want the weakest one.
You want all the shit for less money.
Yes. Yeah, it's like it depends what you're looking for. I mean, what we've been looking for is party time. And we've had like 60 years of party time. We're like, you guys want to go to the moon?
Right.
Like, we got money to go to the moon.
You want to go to the bottom
We're
of the
like,
ocean?
You want to have welfare? You want to make all these terrible choices and still have all the best stuff? Yeah, we did that. And now it's like, maybe we should get back to work. What are we going to talk about next? Gold?
You got a lot of charts in front of you. And we haven't really touched on gold a ton.
I think I did say that I was the
Gold bug.
gold bug of the couple of us. I guess I just kind of think about pricing things differently than most people. I think most people look at the cost of things and think, gosh, it's getting out of reach. Everything's getting so expensive. I guess I'd like to present another viewpoint on that. As many people know, the dollar was backed by gold for a very long time, from the 30s through the 1971, when we went off the gold standard, and gold has functioned as money for a long time before that. As we have talked about in other, different facets, the natural state of prices is to fall. Prices fall to the marginal cost of production. So absent other intervening factors, prices should decline over time. And I think most people either don't understand that, or they don't understand really why that is, or how that's kind of worked for a long time. But if you look at some charts, and I have charts here of multiple different things.
I'll get them up on the screen here for you.
Yeah, we'll get them up on the screen. But if you look at house prices, fuel prices, food prices, all those things, and you think about it, it's like, over time we've gotten so much better at making things, doing different things, finding ways to make corn faster, cheaper, less spoilage. We find faster ways to make widgets with less, errors, tires, everything that you can think of. We've gotten so much better at making it. I mean, you can look at like YouTube videos of like a factory making French fries for McDonald's is mind blowing.
Corn's almost the same price it was in the 80s. You make a lot more corn.
Yeah. I mean, the tractors are,
Genetics.
insanely, capable. The genetics have reduced, a ton of the spoilage. It matters less how much it rains. That's just that. But I mean, everything else. I mean, the only thing that people have really got to enjoy deflation on, or prices declining over time, are really electronics. Really, for the most part, things that the government isn't involved in. Right?
Luxury consumer goods.
The government subsidizes corn, so that's a bad example. You know, that keeps the price of that different than other things might be.
Yes.
It's heavily involved in healthcare. So you see healthcare, you know, skyrocketing over time. College tuition
Subsidized.
is very heavily subsidized. Loans are guaranteed. Basically, they just raise their price every year, and the kids pay it because it's not their money. And then eventually, over time, they're like, "Oh, it's really expensive." But basically, things that the government is involved with over time,
Prices go up.
they go up. But otherwise, they typically go down. So yeah, you buy a TV or you look at a TV, the new technology, and it's $78,000 for a TV, and then a couple years later, it's $12,000, and then it's $900, and then they're $49 at Walmart. It's like over time we find so much better ways, to do things, and that really applies almost everywhere in the economy. Almost every good or service that you can think of goes down over time when it's priced in gold, which is real money, in my opinion. So I have a bunch of charts that would show. The first chart that I have here, U.S. Commercial Property Price Index. You look at how much gold it took to buy it in 1998 versus now. Commercial property is 60% cheaper now than it was in 1998. I don't think many people know that.
Compared to gold. Yeah.
Gold buys 2.5 times as much commercial property as it did in 1998.
How much do you think the dollar buys?
Well, this chart actually shows the dollar. And
0.3?
it went from $50 to 130-ish. And it went from 140 grams of gold to 30. So pretty inversely related as far as if it costs more in dollars, it probably costs less in gold. Food prices I have here, 200 in 1990, kind of held pretty similar until about 2000 and has headed straight down since then. Think of all the advancements we made in farming, getting food to the table,
Less
advances in
spoilage.
supply chains, you know, better trucking routes, all of those different things. Like every business every day is trying to figure out how can we do this cheaper so that we can
Sell more.
you know,
Improve.
sell more and sell more and sell more. So prices in gold do come down. You know, food's another example. Here I have Big Mac. This is a good one. We'll have to put this on the screen, but it actually has a couple different countries around the world. And every country, the price of a Big Mac now is lower than it used to be. Makes sense. We're a lot better at making Big Macs than we used to be. Pretty much everything. Natural gas. How many of you would think natural gas is cheap? If you're buying your natural gas with gold, you're surprised how cheap it is right now. It's actually kind of shocking. if you're not
pool heat
if
on.
you're not used to that, right? Yeah. So here I have gasoline and diesel prices. Basically, all of these are headed the straight line down, and most of the slopes are actually pretty similar. Crude oil, dollars, Canadian dollars, euros, and francs measured in gold. All of them are headed down. It's not like just the United States has a printing
Very
problem.
linearly. They're all tied very close together.
Very, very close together, right? This is one that's a little hard to look at. This is production workers' hourly wages in gold. We were talking about this before we turned the cameras on. At some point in the past, I can't remember exactly what year it was. It might have been around the time we went off the gold standard, but the price of gold and the minimum wage worked out to if you took that many ounces of gold today, the minimum wage would essentially be $6,000 a week. That's how much purchasing power an hour has lost over that amount of time. So
In
over
US dollars.
over roughly 55 years, it's lost that much. Like the minimum wage now is what per week? It's officially $7.25
Yeah.
times 40 hours is a couple hundred, 280,
Just less-
300.
About 300.
Yeah. I mean, imagine if the minimum wage was $6,000 a week. It makes sense how they had, you know, more savings and things then.
No problem buying a house.
Right.
Wife stayed home.
This one, I think pretty much most people would expect. The dollar has gone basically from 1,500 to zero since 1900. And obviously it used to be pegged. It used to be, pegged to a certain amount of dollars per gold. And then in 1971, we went off the gold standard. Then it started floating after that. So that's how you kind of see like the lines are straight and then drop and then straight and then kind of squiggly after that. It's
Floating's
because-
a very positive word. I'd say drowning is probably
Yeah.
a better word.
So you'd need a microscope to separate zero from where the line is on the dollar right now versus gold versus where it used to be. This is one of my favorites actually is Bitcoin versus gold. So we have, not really talked about like tons of investment options really. But my opinion, I think gold and Bitcoin are really two that make the most sense because they can't be inflated away. And they have, I think, less risk than owning a company. Think about owning a stock. Over time, they typically create returns. We were talking that measured in gold, really the stock market's down, and we're going to get to that. But
What if you're Bud Light and you have a new marketing campaign?
when you buy a company, there's a ton of risks. I mean, if you buy Anheuser-Busch, yeah, and you're like, people are never going to stop buying beer, and then they run a campaign, and it's like, oh, we just lost 80% of our sales overnight of one of our
just look at Netflix with their cartoons thing.
There could be regulation risk where they regulate your business away, or you have to do something completely different. There could be economic risk where your company goes out of business. There could be unionization where employees strike and you have to pay massively more, and that makes the company
less profitable,
unproductive, less profitable, whatever that might be. You could list the risks of owning a company forever and ever and ever.
Hurricane.
Right? So I mean, when you look at owning a company, it's pretty risky. There's internal risk, external risk, like you said,
weather,
a lot of different things. So with Bitcoin, obviously there's risks that have been outlined, I think, but the risk that it will be inflated away is pretty low. It's like near zero. Like everybody would have to agree to inflate it, which I don't think after the movies we've seen about inflation in the last couple of years, I don't think that everybody's going to agree on that. But Bitcoin and gold have been both, I would say, pretty good inflation hedges here over the past little bit. And I would say if you're investing, and we've talked about this on the podcast before, that inflation is one of the main concerns, if not the main concern, when you're talking about taking money now and bringing the money to the future.
Does it still have the same purchasing power?
There's a lot of risks, and inflation's probably the biggest one.
And or currency debasement.
Right.
They're kind of synonymous, but they're not the same, but they're synonymous.
Right. Yeah. The dollar's definitely going to go down. I mean, I don't see it reversing course from 1,500 to zero, but it could happen, I guess. It's possible.
Not without major risk or
so this
effects.
Bitcoin is one of the very few things, when you look at the slope of the line, almost everything is going down price in gold except Bitcoin. So that's one thing that bucks the trend. So this is an interesting chart to check out. We can talk about that later, and certainly something we can spend a lot of time on. We don't have time for it today to go through all of those things, but this is, I think, one of the best ones that we could spend a lot of time on as well, is the Dow Jones Industrial Average in grams of gold. So I actually bought a ounce of gold the other day at Costco. I think it was yesterday. And one of the people at the checkout told me, why would you buy gold when you can buy the Dow Jones and get, 10% returns? And I said, well, the Dow Jones doesn't compound 10% over really any period of time. I mean, over very short periods of time, sure, it might, but gold has compounded 9% since 2000. I said, if you start in 2000 and go forward to today, which is a pretty good sample size, it's 25 years, the Dow Jones is 70% cheaper now than it was in 2000.
70?
It's gone down by 70%.
When you price it in gold.
If
you price it in dollars, it's worth a whole lot of dollars. The dollars just don't buy you the same amount of Dow Jones.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, that kind of explains a different story than looking at the Dow Jones or looking at the stock market and saying, oh, it's all-time highs. Well, it's always going to be all-time highs when it's priced in dollars. But if you compare it to something that actually holds value, like gold, or money, you'll see that it gets cheaper over time, because I think most of the gains that we've had in the Dow Jones and the S&P have just been inflation since we went off the gold standard, essentially. And really ever since the Federal Reserve was introduced, I mean, 1913, the stock market's gone nowhere for decades and decades. Even in nominal terms, there's huge chunks of time where the stock market goes nowhere.
I just want to highlight this.
Not even priced in gold, priced in dollars. It goes nowhere and nowhere and nowhere, and then it goes up. It's really all been inflation.
I really want to highlight this. I would rewind the last minute and a half, 2 minutes, and just rewatch this. If there's anything you can take away from this entire channel and anything we've ever talked about, like, this is the biggest thing. Like, this is your biggest expense in life. It's not your car payment.
It's inflation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and it's a worldwide phenomenon. It's not just happening in America. It's not like you can just parachute to another country and you're not going to, endure it. It's being endured everywhere.
Don't get it worse.
Yeah. Another chart here. Home prices in US dollars and gold. They're just headed straight opposite directions. And if you're buying a house in straight gold right now, you are shocked at how low the prices are. Have you heard any person in your life say, I just cannot believe how cheap houses are right now.
Right.
I mean, I can buy 3 houses for what I used to only be able to buy one with 10 years ago.
Same case in Bitcoin.
To really simplify it down too, for people that don't this is a new concept to them. Like, no one is saying buy a pallet of gold and like take
And don't have a house.
and take it to a house showing. Like, the whole point is, when you want to store value, it would be to buy gold or other assets Bitcoin,
that are inflation hedges.
Yes. And then you hold on to those instead of holding on to dollars. Then you sell them for dollars and you go buy the house. Like, you're not showing up to an open house with a pallet of gold. Like, that's not the point. The point is to store your value in things other than dollars.
It would be a huge flex, though, if you did that.
It would. Well, I mean, not really. You'd only have to pull out like 3 gold coins and you could buy a house. So in about 5 years.
Right. Yeah, it is.
It used to be a pallet, but now it fits in your pocket.
Right. And it stands to reason. I mean, just think about it in your head. If you build a house today and let's just say you spend $500,000 on a house today. I mean, what's the average new house right now? About there?
Yeah, 4 or something.
I mean,
$4.5.
if you think about it, everybody says, you know what, I'm going to buy a nice house because it's going to appreciate.
It doesn't.
Well, how is it going to appreciate?
Yeah.
Are the studs inside going to become better over time? Is the roof going to massively improve? I mean, sure, it might become a more desirable area over time. That's one thing that, you know, if you put it in a spot that people want to build houses, and you could maybe get a small win there.
If you're in Manhattan 250 years ago.
But if you look at what you spend on that house priced in gold today, and fast forward 30 years, history will tell you it will be worth a lot less gold in 30 years. So yes, the price of the house in dollars went up.
Number go up
every year.
Everything.
It might go up every year, but it's still worth less.
Exactly.
Obviously, it's worth less because at 30 years from now, would you rather have your house or a new house? Well, if it appreciated, well, how's a new house even more than that? Well, because it didn't appreciate. It appreciated in dollars, which isn't really appreciation. It's depreciation of the currency. Yeah, and I've made this argument many times in the past that people say houses are an investment. In a way, they are, because in certain situations they're better than renting. So it's like investing money today.
You're just losing less money less quickly. It's not an investment.
You're investing a down payment today to eventually not have a rent payment. Is kind of the way to think about it. And then maybe the house is worth more, maybe it's worth less, but the house will be worth less in terms of.
But if you're to mortgage a house that's $300,000 today, by the time you're done paying for it, you're going to pay at current interest rates of like 6.5. You're probably going to pay 2.6 ish face value. You're going to spend a lot more.
Specifically with houses, people take a 30-year mortgage. And the reason that 30-year mortgage rates are based on the 10-year treasury is because the average time that people have that 30-year mortgage is 8 years.
Yes.
So in the first 8 years,
interest.
Are you paying interest or principal?
90% interest.
That's a guess, but you're close.
Yeah.
It might even be higher depending on the interest rate.
Yeah.
So you're paying the first 8 years almost all interest.
You're renting it.
And then what do? You
sell it.
And
pay closing costs.
Closing costs? How much for a realtor?
I don't know. 1%?
6%.
Is it? I have no idea.
Plus state fees to transfer the title.
Yeah.
So you paid straight interest and basically gift a realtor 30 grand, 40 grand, 20 grand, depending how much your house is. You paid realtors an interest.
But to make it worse,
almost 100%. And the house became worth less to gold over those 8 years. So you lost, but I agree. You need somewhere to live.
Yeah. I would agree with that. And to make it worse too, like a lot of people make that argument to me. I currently rent, and it's for different reasons. But on top of that, not only did you incur all those costs, you've gained very little equity, but also you inherited a bunch of liability and risk. It's like, what if a tornado comes through, rips your roof off, but your roof is 15 years old? Then the insurance company's like, well, we'll give you $250.
What if the neighborhood becomes a bad area?
Yeah.
You're tied to it. What if you have a job opportunity 6 hours away and you need to sell it and the market's down and you put 5% down and you're losing your 5% and then some just to the realtor. Mm-hmm. So you lost your down payment if you had to sell it right away. If you don't put more than a realtor costs and then some down, you might not even be able to sell your house. Mm-hmm. And now take into account like an Austin or an Orlando or a Fort Myers right now where prices are down 20-25%. You lost your down payment and then a ton more, which is why you're seeing people just mail the keys in. They're like, well, I'm not going to keep paying this mortgage for $1.5 million and the house is at $900K and isn't even getting a showing. Mm-hmm. What are you going to do? But yeah, I think the point is houses are very, very, very expensive
in US dollars
to keep in terms of dollars, and over time are worth less price than gold. So if the thought is I'm just going to buy the absolute most expensive house I can possibly get a hold of because it's going to become worth more over time, I would encourage you to look at insurance rates, maintenance costs, value over time versus new builds versus gold. I think you'll find that buying a more modest house and living within your means is probably a better idea
prosperous
over time, and put some of the extra money into other options that might keep up better with inflation without so many extra costs. We didn't even mention property taxes. Obviously, if you rent, you're paying property taxes for them, but there's just so much less risk renting.
It's not saying everyone should rent. The whole point is educate yourself and run the numbers.
Yeah.
That's always the answer.
If it's a place that you're like dead set, you're going to live here forever, and there's just absolutely no reason you could leave for whatever reasons, buy it or build it. Yeah. But if you're early in your career, or, there's, potentially opportunity somewhere else, you could really be anchored down by buying a house for sure. Depending on what the market does. I mean, you're kind of at the mercy of the market there. It removes options.
Meet the love of your life benefits. In college.
It's not just like 100% benefit, 0% risk scenario buying a house.
Yeah,
there's a lot that goes to it.
We got really lucky though.
Yep.
With all of ours, that was an adventure moving out of state.
I'd be curious though to see how you performed in gold.
Yeah, that would be
because
we had talked about that recently about how Nick does a quarterly budget. I said go back as far as you can and look at the gold price there, and are you getting richer in gold? It's tough. One of the huge benefits of buying and selling and moving up houses like Nick did is that you can move those gains tax-free to a new house. It's just a massive...
There are advantages, yep.
Yeah, I mean, versus just buying a house that's at the top of your range right away, since they do go up in dollars, it's basically tax-free income in a way. So you can leverage that to...
What's the exchange? What's the number?
I can't think of the name.
Oh man, I'll look it up quick. If anyone wants to do further research on it, what the number is exchange to transfer profit in a house to another house.
Oh, one of the few things that's actually gone up. So Bitcoin has gone up relative to gold, and one of the other things that's gone up relative to gold is the federal debt. None of us were surprised to look at that chart, so we'll put that chart up as well. But this is over actually 120 years. So from 1900 to 2020, stayed at near zero basically until World War I, went up, a fair amount after World War I, and then just really started taking off around World War II, 1941 there, until 1945 and leveled out a little bit. And then we kind of had, Great Society programs, went to the moon, 50s and 60s, kind of ran it up a little bit more. Had the inflation of the 70s and gold skyrocketed during the 70s. So you see it just go straight down after 1970 because gold was, allowed to float versus being attached to the dollar at 35. And in 1970, gold went from $35 fixed to the dollar to by 1980, it was $850 an ounce. Oh. So that's explaining the straight down of the federal debt measured in gold. But then, after that, it's pretty much bombs away. There's nothing holding it back. Again, a couple small, not small, but from 2000 to 2010, gold ran again. So that was kind of its second bull market. So you can see the debt price in gold there head straight down. And, at this time, based on some of the other conversation we had, not really sure where it's headed from here. If gold runs way up, the debt price in gold could go down. I could definitely see it going down, especially if, the budget gets balanced with tariffs and some extra growth that we hadn't been seeing in previous years with previous thought processes. I could definitely see it going down, but definitely Bitcoin and the federal debt are two things that have gone up relative to gold. Well, pretty much every other commodity or service has decreased in cost. We did a little show and tell here in the meantime. I brought an ounce of gold for the guys to see. Maybe they'll get their own soon.
Mm-hmm. It's on my list. That's next year.
I've got a little bit right here.
Right. The way I think about gold, like for myself, is I own a company, so a lot of my savings is in my company because I expect the cash flows from my company to kind of grow over time. The way I think about gold in my personal portfolio is money that I never intend to spend. So obviously there's you can buy gold through ETFs. You can buy gold a lot of different ways. When you have an ETF, you basically have like a paper claim on gold, but there's concerns about, it being rehypothecated where they have a certain amount of gold in the London vault, and then a whole bunch gets bought through the ETF, like money's flowing in through the ETF, and then they don't actually go out and buy that many ounces of gold because really nobody ever stands for delivery. So it's just like nobody's ever going to call us on it, whether we get more gold or not. So it's just like, they do or they don't. But, really the only way to have the no counterparty risk, like the central point of why gold is so valuable, is obviously that it endures over time.
It's a barrier asset.
It doesn't, tarnish. It doesn't, it has to get it really hot to melt it. There's really no way to kill it or make it worth less. And when you have gold, you're storing all the future value of gold. So it's not just what we know that we can do with gold right now. It's when we send rovers to Mars in 30 years, do they need a ton of gold for that? Well, if they do, they're not just going to be able to turn the mines up to 15 and get all the gold we need. So any circuit boards in the future we need it for, anything we could possibly ever use it for in the future, you're storing that value now and basically bringing that value back to today. So that's some of the plus sides of gold. But like I said, you can buy it through ETFs. You can buy physical gold. You're almost always paying a premium. They call it a premium versus spot to buy gold bars. Actually, if you buy them at Costco, you can get 2% back being an executive member and 2% back more in cash on if you have the Costco City Visa card. So you can actually, at most points in time, buy gold bars there under spot, which is like under the melt value, which I don't know how they do it. Costco's incredible. In more ways than just gold. The $1.50 hot dogs are hard to miss too. But yeah, the fact that you can buy it there under spot is incredible.
And
if you look on the internet,
and free shipping.
For that ounce, I bought it yesterday. The price on the shelf was $39.49. I paid, I think, $37.91 after the 4% off. Any website that you check, 4,011, 4,014, maybe plus shipping, depending on which site you're going to. Obviously, you have the shipping risk. You're paying insurance, or they are. Costco ships it, and I'm sure a little tiny envelope among a huge semi that's filled with raspberries and other things too. Like it'd take you a long time searching through the semi to find where the gold was at to steal it. But and then obviously they lock it away. So that's one of my favorite ways to buy gold personally, is to just get it through Costco. Obviously, they do have a limit. If when you're an executive member, your check at the end of the year is capped at $1,000. So if you buy a ton of gold, you're going to run out. You won't get all the 2% back, but it's a great way to go about it. And like I said, I just intend to put that in the safe. This one's actually for my future son or daughter. My wife's 33 weeks pregnant tomorrow, I think. So I want to get him the best gift I could for being born. Like their 0 birthday, D-Day, intro to the world. So someday I'll give it to them, and who knows what it'll be worth, but it'll be kind of fun to watch. We have the receipt.
You're going to keep the receipt.
They don't like you having 2 receipts in one transaction there, but when they saw the dollar value, they're like, yeah, I think I'll give you a separate receipt for that. You can put that in the safe. So this one's actually not mine. It is, but it's not. It won't be mine. But I have other ones they'll get when someday I pass. But yeah, that's kind of how I think about it, is money I never intend to spend, money I want to hand down to future generations. When you look at what it's done in history, it's kind of hard to argue with.
Well, that certainly was a lot to take in. If you guys have any questions, please comment. You remember, you guys can email us to financiallyfocusedofficial@gmail.com. Especially if you have any questions for Jordan, we can pass them on to him. Vern, any words?
Yeah, we'll see if we can link some of these charts potentially in like a PDF, or at least point you in the right direction if you want to find them on your own. And then also prior we were talking about pushing home equity forward without incurring taxes. That was a 1031 exchange.
Yes.
If anyone would like to look that up and do some research, again, that's a 1031 exchange. It's really common. A lot of people that buy rentals and stuff use that in flipping houses as well. And we'll catch you on the next one.
Yeah, thank you, Jordan. We look forward to having you on future episodes.
Thanks for having me.